Today you are joining me on a working day. Well, you're really joining me on a lunch break and an evening of a working day, but we're in my normal filming spot, but it obviously looks different because my desk is here. When I'm not filming videos, I'm normally in my lovely reading chair, which is normally here, but at the moment, really since like halfway through the first lockdown, I can't even remember when it was, I got myself a cheap desk from IKEA, and I decided this was the best spot for me because Ben is currently sitting there working. He's on the kitchen table and I'm on this little desk here. It's my favourite spot because I get a lot of light, and also the bookshelves look good when I'm in meetings, and it looks vaguely professional but also still bookish. Recently I took some time off filming because we had snow in London, and yeah, that feels like a lifetime ago now, but it really doesn't snow that regularly in London. The first time it snowed, actually was like properly snowed, was about 3 years ago, and it was also around the time I got my job at HarperCollins, because this week is actually my 3-year anniversary at HarperCollins. We've had some really great snow in London this year, especially in South London. I'll insert a few clips because it really did look like Narnia. I think because of lockdown we had gotten so used to our local area and that it just felt really normal, and there was nothing, I mean, I love where we live, but it wasn't massively exciting. But when the snow came, everything just looked completely different. It looked like a whole new landscape, and so I spent a lot of time just walking in the snow. I've also had some kind of exciting career stuff happen, which I'll probably talk about in a different video, and work has just been quite busy, and we're working on some really great books at the moment, and I think that means that kind of at a weekend I've just been wanting to watch Married at First Sight Australia. And also me and Ben had just started watching Schitt's Creek for the first time, and it's just been quite nice not to film, and I am realising that my favourite videos to film are often ones when I do go outside and explore London, like my book shopping series, and when I can't do that sometimes I don't have much motivation to film, but I also have to remind myself that this is my hobby. And you know, maybe I'll talk about this a bit later on, about because I've been thinking a lot about Booktube and YouTube especially, but I don't earn money from this. This isn't my job, and therefore I don't want to make it something that feels like work. It should always be a hobby. Making videos and chatting with all of you has been one of my biggest honours, one of the great joys of my life. So I never really want it to feel like work. I guess half the point of this video was just to like check in. We can have a lunch break together. I can be your awkward co-worker who just won't stop talking. I realised that I never really talk about the specifics of my job a lot, or even the books that I work on. So please let me know if you would like a day in the life, I guess, of, you know, working digital marketing, publishing, if that's something you'd be interested in. Today has been filled with emails, a lot of graphic design today. I'm actually planning a really fun campaign with my manager because we're a marketing team of 2, and she's brilliant. But we're currently working on a book called The Dinner Guest. With The Dinner Guest, I'm going to be a part of kind of setting up the campaign, especially in terms of the bloggers and getting buzz around this book and making graphics for it. But I won't really be seeing it all the way through, so I guess it's going to kind of feel a bit bittersweet. What else have I been doing today? So I had a really exciting meeting, again, all of which will probably be revealed later. Emails, newsletter, NetGalley stuff. Oh yeah, I designed a newsletter today. I make all our newsletters. One thing I've been doing specifically for The Dinner Guest today is setting up a read-along, which is a kind of a reading event for our bloggers and kind of key supporters. That's also what I got the highly commended for at the Book Marketing Society, so they work apparently. One thing I decided to do this morning, which is actually, I did it like before I started work, was I actually set up my own newsletter. I just had an email, I'm just going to see what this is. But I set up my own newsletter for my videos because I've been making videos now for 9 years. 9 years on this channel, 10 years overall on YouTube, and all kind of Booktube content. And I realise that now I know that my videos don't get to this people in the same way they did in 2014, the year of my prime. But I kind of wanted to think about different ways of getting my videos into people's inboxes, because I get an awful lot of messages from people saying, I didn't know you made videos, or I'm not seeing any of your videos. And it always makes me feel slightly sad, because I feel like that's like the one job YouTube should be doing is putting my videos into people's subscriptions feeds, at least. One thing I realised I do a lot of in kind of publishing, and it's a really great skill to have, is in setting up newsletters. And it's been a massive learning curve for me, but a lot of the things I'm kind of working on and in kind of future career especially will be kind of in newsletter strategies. I'm making this already so much about work, so let me know if you fancy knowing more about work, because this is actually supposed to be a reading blog, believe it or not. It's supposed to be an afternoon of reading, but anyway, I decided to create a newsletter. Again, it's a skill that's really useful to have, and it meant that I basically set up my newsletter in about half an hour while I was eating breakfast this morning. And anyway, so basically I've set up a newsletter. How many times am I going to say that I've set up a fucking newsletter? With the idea of sending monthly updates to people who like my videos and maybe want to be reminded. I've also decided that because I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, this will be a great way for me to share exclusive stuff as well and different content with people without having it behind, I guess, a paywall. Maybe we should talk about this. Let's talk about it. I have been thinking, I'm going to put this in my computer down because we're going to get serious. I have been thinking a lot recently about monetization and hobbies and side hustle culture. And I've come to the decision that I don't really like it that much. And I kind of want you to hear me out, because this isn't coming for anybody who monetizes anything. This comes from a much more personal position where I'm privileged enough to have a job that pays me enough money to be able to live in a flat and to pay all of my bills on time and to, do nice things. And therefore I don't financially depend on any extra income. I'm kind of I'm allergic to work. As soon as things become work-like, I want to avoid them. I was thinking more recently about kind of how I think so much of success is determined by, can you make money from this? Can you make this your career? And I think that applies to content creation. I think it applies to writing, being an artist, lots of different kind of types of hobbies, I guess. Of course, it's everyone's dream to have a career that is stuff that you enjoy. But I think also sometimes that separation between having a hobby and having work is actually quite valuable. I don't know whether it's because I am very critical of capitalism, I think as we all should be, and capitalist structures. It also means I'm quite critical of like side hustle and especially like toxic productivity, because I kind of feel like it's that kind of, boss babe. Well, boss babes are like MLMs, aren't they? But like kind of, girl boss culture is problematic, because I think it's just kind of capitalism seeping into our lives, and actually there should be a level of separation here. Linking perfectly in with like monetization, there's also kind of the increasing number of stats that we have on YouTube, and that you're putting in competition with yourself and your own videos. Like when I look at my Bridgerton video, which is actually a video I'm personally quite proud of and felt that it has value in the way that it's something that I'm interested in and passionate about, like 18th century print culture is my thing. But when I go on YouTube and look at my studio analytics, it's like 10 out of 10, right at the bottom, the least popular video I've ever made. I also don't know whether it's because I spend a lot of my time at work analysing data and impressions and click-through rates, and whether things are working. I change stuff on social media a lot to kind of up all of those different levels of engagement, and sometimes I have to remember that I don't have to do that for my own stuff. Again, going back to the whole kind of blurring lines between a hobby and work, but it is very hard not to become obsessed about stats and about different bits of the data, and also to deem success also by what your statistics are rather than enjoyment. I feel like when kind of numbers, the stats and money are kind of placed above enjoyment, that's where I kind of start to struggle. And ultimately I kind of say to myself, well, my growth has been pretty slow for a long time. And then I thought to myself, well, if that just continues, Claire, will you still make videos? And I was like, well, yeah, because I really enjoy making videos. So I was like, well, what's the problem? Like, what are you worrying about if, that video doesn't perform that well? If you're still going to make videos and you don't want this to be a career, what does it matter? You're just kind of giving yourself a hard time. And trust me, I give myself a hard time in so many different ways. I do not need to start doing it on YouTube as well. I think publishing especially, and the belief that to be successful in publishing you have to have loads of different side hustles. I think that happens a lot. And I kind of just want to sleep. Maybe sleep can be my side hustle, because that's something publishing doesn't do enough. But actually, what I wanted to talk to you about was what I'm currently reading, because, I don't do TBRs ever. I'm a complete mood reader, and the book I'm actually reading at the moment was completely unexpected. In fact, there is another book I'm also reading. Let me grab it. So, obviously one of the most popular Booktube books of all time is The Diary of Samuel Pepys. I know every booktuber is currently reading it. I realise how funny and filthy Pepys is. He's an awful man, but just really great fun to read. January, this is 1662, this is how Pepys started his year. Waking this morning out of my sleep, on a sudden, I did with my elbow hit my wife with a great blow over her face and nose, which waked her with pain, at which I was sorry, and to sleep again. I love that because it's exactly why I love history, and it's why I love diaries and kind of letter writing, when you get that real kind of human element, especially in this diary, because, you know, it was a private diary, and you realise that even though time has passed, society has changed, culture, manners, everything has been revolutionised. Husbands and wives still accidentally hit each other with their elbows in the morning. The book I'm currently reading, and I'm actually just about to finish, to be honest, is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is testament to the fact that I literally read a book a year after buying it, because I had like a memory and notification saying that I bought this a year ago. Finally getting around to reading it. I'd heard nothing but good things about Daisy Jones and Six, and the reason that I picked it up was because one of my favourite books of all time is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The way that Taylor Jenkins Reid kind of structures these narratives are very similar but also very different, in the way that it's kind of like a mockumentary but not mocking, like it's kind of a fake document of a history, really. That kind of created fact is something I really love in literature. A lot of what Taylor Jenkins Reid kind of writes about is reporting and telling a story, and who gets to tell a story and which story are they actually telling, the differences in narrative and how narratives can be manipulated, and it's just astonishing, and I would definitely recommend it. So that's why I wanted to pick up Daisy Jones, because very similar to even Hugo, you have this fake band. In the 70s, you have Daisy Jones and the Six. What was so fascinating to me about this book was because it is presented as an oral history, and each character is so well done. It becomes a really intricate patchwork of a story, of a narrative, and you get all the differences, like the differences in truth, and I think kind of plays with the plurality of truth and the lies and stories we're told, especially by kind of the music industry, which, you know, goes the same for kind of Hollywood in Evelyn. You get characters who are so close together in the narrative on the page, but actually are kind of telling very different stories and have very different opinions of what happened. And it's just really fascinating, and I can't wait to see what Taylor Jenkins Reid does next. You're just really convinced they're real, and there was one section where Daisy writes a song when she's kind of hurt, and I think it's called Regret Me, and I remember reading that section of the novel and being really kind of moved by Daisy, and wanting, like, I literally nearly opened my Spotify to go and listen to the song and then realise that Daisy isn't real, but that is kind of Taylor Jenkins Reid's power in storytelling. I think what I'm going to do now is actually go out into the real world, because it's bright blue sky at the moment. It feels like a really beautiful spring day, especially after having those really cold days where it felt snowy and Narnia-like. It now really feels like spring. So I'm going to take my book and go for a walk. I need to go to Sainsbury's, and the reason I need to go to Sainsbury's is because I want to go and have a look what books they have. I also need to get food, but I'm going to read some of Daisy now. I also want to note out that my favourite bookmark is a little naked lady, which I think says quite a lot about me. finished work for the day. I've got a few things I want to kind of wrap up a little bit more neatly for tomorrow. I always tend to end each day with like a to-do list, just so then when I sit at my desk tomorrow morning, I know exactly what I need to get started on and what my priority is for each day. It's starting to get kind of properly dark now. There's kind of a sunset going on over there, but I'm really enjoying actually having a bit more light in the day. Like the fact that it's not dark at 4 p.m. now makes me really happy, because it does mean that, you know, we can actually go for more walks in the evening, whereas when it's been in like pitch black during winter and being in lockdown, I think that's kind of made me a little bit miserable. But anyway, so we went to Sainsbury's, the highlight of my week. I know that you saw the books that I got, but I did also buy some stationery, so I thought I would talk a bit about them. So let's start with the two books. The first one is Catherine Howard, The Tainted Queen, which is a part of Alison Weir's 6 Tudor Queen series. I realise I'm actually missing Anne of Cleves, so I need to go and buy and read that one. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter if I read them out of order, because I know how it's going to end. It won't necessarily be spoilers for me. Catherine Howard is one of my favourite of the wives, up there with Anne Boleyn really. I guess they're also related and also lost their lives in very similar ways. It might just be an obsession I have with beheading. The Tudors and historical fiction like this for me are the ultimate comfort read, and pure escapism. And the reason I actually got these two books was because at the end of March I have like a week of annual leave, and I have no plans, and we'll still be in lockdown at the end of March. So all I plan on doing is reading and watching trash, which is like my idea of heaven. The next book is The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. And this is the reason I went to Sainsbury's, because I knew that Sainsbury's was stocking this book. I've had so many people recommend me this book, and every single review I've read has just been completely glowing, and especially on Booktube as well. I also like that it is quite big, because I do love big books. I always just kind of get my teeth stuck in them. And again, kind of the perfect escapist read for me is kind of going back to Jane Austen. It's also got a great opening line. It is a sad fact of life that if a young woman is unlucky enough to come into the world without expectations, she had better to do all she can to ensure she is born beautiful. Because I'm going to be starting some very exciting projects in the next month or so, I wanted some more stationery. I picked up a weekly planner pad because I find these really useful. I love the fact they have stickers. I'm not like that type of person to use the stickers though, but as an overview this will be really useful. It's obviously got a little thing for each day of the week. The next two are notebooks. I'll start with the Dalmatians. This is the perfect example of me buying something that I don't really need, but I love the pattern. This one is my kind of normal style of notebook. What I like about it is that it's almost like a hardback. It's got like a firmer feel to it, so it won't kind of get bashed up. Not that I'm commuting anymore. I'm actually going to be remote working for pretty much ever. Well, not ever, but I won't be going back into an office. So I guess it doesn't really matter, because I'm not throwing stuff into a bag all the time like I used to be, and kind of, you know, thinking about the tube and stuff. But I just really liked the design and the colour. I need to get more stationery in general, to be honest, because I've kind of been like stealing from the office. Not now, obviously. Well, not stealing. That's not what stealing is. But obviously when I was in an office, like I just used office pens and used office paper and didn't really think about it. But when I was young, I used to love getting a new like pencil case each like school year. It was like the highlight of my life. I was obsessed with pencil cases when I was young, like obsessed. I think with lockdown at the moment, it really is all about those little joys. That is my tiny little book haul and stationery shop haul. I'm now going to sit and read Daisy Jones for a bit, because I literally have, these are song lyrics at the end. I literally have this much left. And I think it's gonna kill me. God damn it. That was a really beautiful ending, and I loved, oops. It wasn't what I thought, it wasn't the reason, but it's kind of like the book has been like two different love letters almost, and this is like a final act, you know, the final note of one big kind of love song. And it was a different one to what I was expecting, is also an ending that I love because it kind of leaves stuff to the imagination. I now want to just listen to all their music though. Maybe I'll just go and listen to Fleetwood Mac now and just like cry in a corner. That was so good. That was thoroughly enjoyable and emotional at the end. And I've got like a cold, cold heart. I need to decide what I'm going to read now though, because I think I'm going to save those books for my annual leave. I need something to look forward to. I think I might read Sherlock Holmes. I don't know. Or I'll just watch Married at First Sight Australia, because I watched season 6 now and I'm on season 5. And I'm just going to watch all of them because the Australians do reality TV really, really good. So maybe I'll just watch that. I better actually wrap this video up. Thank you for joining me on an afternoon, and I guess now evening. Is definitely pitch black now outside. If you've read Daisy Jones and Six, please let me know if you enjoyed it, what you thought, and send me a direct message about the ending, if it's the ending that you wanted for these characters, because I think that was actually really beautifully done, and all of the little threads kind of came together really perfectly, in a way actually I wasn't expecting. I hope you enjoyed seeing a few snippets of my day. And yeah, I'll see you again soon with another bookish video.